Something big has happened in the royal family. Queen Camilla, the woman who stood beside King Charles, is now facing a shocking end. A decision has been made, and there's no way for her to escape it. The palace, once full of power and control, is now filled with whispers and tension. For years, people have talked about her, some with respect, others with anger. But now, everything has changed. The news has spread like wildfire, and the truth can no longer be hidden. What really happened? Why is this the end for her? This is not just another royal story. This is the moment that changes everything. What led to the sentencing? No one ever imagined Queen Camilla's royal journey would take such a sharp and dramatic turn. For years, she had been standing strong next to King Charles, fulfilling her royal duties and slowly winning over the public. But things don't always go as planned, especially within the British royal family, where one wrong move can change everything forever. It all started like a small rumor, something people didn't take seriously at first. But in a matter of days, it turned into one of the biggest royal scandals of our time. It was a journalist who first revealed the shocking truth. He claimed to have undeniable proof that Camilla had been secretly working on a personal memoir, a tell-all book about her life inside the royal walls. This wasn't going to be another sweet story about royal events or charitable works. No, this book was different. It promised to reveal private secrets, secret conversations, and the royal family's hidden moments that were never meant to reach the public. Even worse, the journalist claimed that a whole chapter was dedicated to Camilla's private feelings about Princess Diana, including moments that had remained buried for decades. At first, the palace refused to comment. Many thought it was just another gossip piece, something the tabloids created to stir drama. But soon after, more sources confirmed it. People who had seen parts of the draft claimed it was explosive. It didn't just talk about Charles and Camilla's relationship, but also touched on sensitive topics like Diana's struggles, private fights within the family, and even Camilla's secret thoughts about Prince William and Prince Harry. This wasn't just a book. It was a bombshell. Behind the palace gates, the atmosphere was tense. King Charles was reportedly devastated. He had fought for years to have Camilla accepted as his queen. And now, just months after receiving the title, she was accused of betraying him and the entire family. Prince William was said to be furious. To him, this wasn't just a betrayal. It was a direct attack on his late mother's memory. Sources close to the family revealed that William demanded action. He felt that if Camilla truly wrote those things, there was no way she could remain queen. Even Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who had distanced themselves from the royal family, were rumored to be watching closely. Some said they were quietly amused, feeling that the same royal family who once turned their back on them was now facing its own nightmare. Others said Meghan reached out privately to William, though that remains unconfirmed. The palace knew they couldn't stay silent any longer. Meetings were held behind closed doors. Lawyers, advisors, and senior royals gathered to decide Camilla's fate. And then came the announcement that no one expected. Queen Camilla was to be sentenced. The sentence explained. What does it really mean? When the public first heard the word sentence, many assumed Camilla was facing legal action. Some even thought she might go to prison. But in the royal world, punishment looks very different. There was no court, no judge, no prison. Instead, there was something far worse: complete removal from royal life. The royal family released a carefully worded statement. It didn't directly admit the truth of the memoir, but made it clear that Camilla had broken their trust. And so, the queen consort was stripped of all her royal duties. Overnight, Camilla disappeared from the royal calendar. No more public appearances, no more speeches, no more smiling beside Charles at official events. After years of working hard to build her image, it was all gone in a heartbeat. The punishment didn't stop there. Camilla was also asked to leave the royal residences. She could no longer stay at Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, or Balmoral. These places, which had once been her home, were now off limits. Reports suggest she was sent to a private estate, far from London, hidden away from cameras and curious eyes. Some say she left the country altogether, retreating to a quiet European village where no one would recognize her. Others believe she's somewhere deep in the countryside, living a life of complete isolation. The final blow came when the palace declared that Camilla would no longer be funded by taxpayers. For years, her royal expenses had been covered as part of her role. But now, that was over. She would no longer receive public money. Even more shocking, insiders whispered that King Charles was forced to agree to strip her of the title, Queen Consort. From now on, she would once again be known only as the Duchess of Cornwall, a clear sign that she had been officially erased from the highest position she had ever held. Many people were left wondering why the punishment was so harsh. After all, this was the woman Charles loved deeply, the one he waited decades to marry. But royal experts believe it was all about survival. The royal family has faced too many scandals in recent years: Prince Andrew, Harry and Meghan, and now Camilla. They knew they had to act fast and act strong to protect the crown. Some also say this was personal. Prince William, still haunted by the loss of his mother, may have pushed for the harshest sentence possible. He couldn't forgive Camilla for dragging Diana's name back into the spotlight. Others believe King Charles was left with no choice. Saving his reign meant sacrificing the woman he loved. What does this mean for the future of the monarchy? With Camilla gone, the royal family faces an uncertain future. For King Charles, this is possibly the biggest challenge of his reign. He spent years building Camilla's image, convincing the world she was fit to be queen. Now all that work has crumbled. His approval ratings have dropped, and many are questioning if he still has the strength to continue as king. Some believe this scandal could push him to step down sooner than expected, paving the way for Prince William to take the throne. The family itself is more divided than ever. This scandal has opened old wounds, especially between William and his father. There are whispers that they barely speak now, and that William feels betrayed all over again. Not just by Camilla, but by his father forever bringing her into their lives. As for Harry and Meghan, it remains unclear where they stand. Some say they feel vindicated, watching the royal family suffer the same public shame they once felt. Others believe they're staying silent, knowing that speaking out now could only make things worse. But out of this mess, one person seems to be rising stronger than ever: Princess Catherine. With Camilla gone, Kate has become the most powerful and beloved woman in the royal family. People are calling her the new People's Queen, saying that she represents everything the monarchy should stand for: grace, dignity, and respect. Many believe that this scandal has cleared the path for Kate to take on an even bigger role, one that could eventually see her as the face of the monarchy itself. There are also fears that this scandal could have lasting effects on the monarchy's image. Some experts believe that if the royal family keeps facing one crisis after another, it might push younger generations to turn their backs on the institution altogether. The question now is, can the monarchy survive this, or is this the beginning of the end? Camilla's final goodbye. Before disappearing from the public eye, Camilla released one final statement. It wasn't through the palace. It wasn't a grand speech or a carefully crafted video. Instead, it was a simple handwritten letter that made its way to the media. In it, Camilla wrote, "It is time for me to step back, forever. I never intended to bring harm to the monarchy, but I now see that my actions have caused pain. I will spend the rest of my days in quiet reflection. I ask for privacy as I move forward." Her words were soft, but the meaning was clear. Camilla knew her time was over. There was no apology, not really, but there was a sense of finality, as if she had accepted that her dream of being queen was now nothing more than a memory. Since then, no one has seen or heard from her. Some say she's living somewhere in France, while others believe she's hidden away in the English countryside. Wherever she is, one thing is certain: Camilla's royal chapter is closed. She is no longer part of the story, no longer standing beside the king, no longer in the spotlight. And just like that, the woman who once fought so hard to be queen said goodbye forever. Queen Camilla's time is over, and nothing will ever be the same again. The royal family has seen many scandals, but this one will be remembered for years. What happens next? Only time will tell.
What was hard to get over was being blamed for something that not only I didn't do, but that happened to me.
The royal family is known for its elegance, power, and carefully crafted image. But beyond the public smiles and grand traditions, there are stories that have been buried, rewritten, or simply erased. Stories of lost heirs, hidden conflicts, and decisions made in secret. Not everything in their world is meant to be seen, and not every truth is meant to be told. Yet, some secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks. These are 11 things the royal family never wanted the world to find out. 1. Prince Andrew and the Epstein scandal. Prince Andrew's downfall is one of the biggest royal scandals in recent years. But why? What exactly did he do that made the royal family push him away? It all started with his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire who was later exposed as a sex offender. Epstein was known for hosting powerful people, politicians, business tycoons, and even royalty. But what raised eyebrows was the fact that even after Epstein was convicted in 2008 for sex crimes, Prince Andrew still stayed in touch with him. There's even a photo of Prince Andrew at Epstein's house in New York in 2010, 2 years after Epstein was already labeled as a sex offender. Why would a prince still be hanging out with a criminal? That's the question everyone started asking. But things got worse. A woman named Virginia Giuffre came forward and accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her when she was 17. She said Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, forced her to have encounters with powerful men, including Andrew. There's even a photo of Andrew with his arm around her waist. He denied everything. He said he had never met her, despite the picture. To make things even weirder, Andrew gave an interview to BBC in 2019, trying to explain himself. Instead of clearing his name, the interview became a disaster. He claimed he couldn't have been with Virginia on the day she said because he was at a Pizza Express with his daughter. He also said he couldn't sweat, which was his way of denying her claims that he was sweating all over her during their alleged encounter. People found his excuses bizarre and unconvincing. The backlash was immediate. The royal family quickly distanced themselves from him. The Queen stripped him of his royal titles and military honors. He was told to stop using the title His Royal Highness. He even had to step back from royal duties completely. In 2022, he settled the lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre out of court. Though he never admitted wrongdoing, the settlement reportedly cost him millions. The royal family has tried to erase him from public life. He is no longer allowed to represent them in any official way. But the damage was done. The world will always remember his connection to Epstein and the scandal that rocked the monarchy. 2. The mysterious death of Princess Diana. Princess Diana was loved by millions. She wasn't just a princess. She was a symbol of kindness and compassion. But in 1997, her life was cut short in a tragic car crash in Paris. Even after all these years, many people still believe that her death wasn't just an accident. On August 31, 1997, Diana and her boyfriend, Dodi Fayed, were trying to escape paparazzi in Paris. Their driver, Henri Paul, was speeding through a tunnel when he lost control of the car and crashed. Diana was severely injured and later died at the hospital. Officially, it was ruled an accident, and the driver was found to be intoxicated. But was it really that simple? Dodi Fayed's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, believed that Diana and Dodi were killed on purpose. He claimed that the royal family didn't want Diana to marry Dodi because he was Muslim. Some believed that MI6, the British Secret Service, was involved. Another strange detail? There were reports that Diana feared for her life before she died. In a letter she allegedly wrote in 1995, she said, "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injury." She was talking about Prince Charles. The biggest question is, why did the royal family act so coldly after her death? When news broke, the Queen stayed silent. She didn't return to London immediately, and there was no public statement. People were furious. They saw Diana as the people's princess, but the royal family didn't seem to care. Eventually, the Queen addressed the nation, and there was a grand funeral. But to this day, many believe that there was more to Diana's death than what we were told. Was it just a tragic accident? Or was something more sinister at play? 3. King Edward VIII and his Nazi connections. Imagine this. A king who gives up his throne. Not because of politics, not because of scandal, but because he fell in love. Sounds romantic, right? That's what many people think about King Edward VIII. But there's a darker side to his story. Edward was king for less than a year in 1936. He fell in love with an American woman named Wallis Simpson. The problem? She was twice divorced, and the British government didn't approve. Edward had to choose his throne or his love. He chose love and abdicated the throne. His brother King George VI, the father of Queen Elizabeth II, took over. But here's the part history books don't talk about much. Edward had ties to the Nazis. After giving up the throne, he and Wallis moved to France and later visited Nazi Germany. There's even a photo of him shaking hands with Adolf Hitler in 1937. Many believe that Edward was a Nazi sympathizer. Some historians even claim that Hitler wanted to reinstall Edward as king if Germany won World War II. There were secret government files suggesting that Edward had communicated with the Nazis about a possible peace deal. The British government tried to suppress this information. They sent Edward and Wallis far away, to the Bahamas, where they couldn't cause trouble. To this day, the royal family rarely talks about Edward's Nazi connections. They prefer to focus on the love story, not the controversy. 4. Prince Charles's secret letters and political influence. The royal family is supposed to stay neutral in politics. But what if a future king secretly tried to influence the government? That's exactly what Prince Charles did for years. Between 2004 and 2005, Charles wrote a series of letters to government ministers. These letters, later known as the Black Spider Memos because of his messy handwriting, revealed how he was lobbying politicians on various issues. What was he writing about? Everything from environmental policies to alternative medicine, even military equipment. He wasn't just making polite suggestions, he was trying to push the government in certain directions. For years, these letters were kept secret. The British government refused to release them, arguing that they would damage the idea of a politically neutral monarchy. But in 2015, after a long legal battle, the letters were finally published. Many people were shocked. Should a royal, especially a future king, be involved in politics like this? The monarchy is meant to stay out of government decisions. If Charles was this politically active as a prince, what would he be like as king? After the letters came out, Charles became more careful. He publicly stated that when he becomes king, he will stay neutral. But can someone who spent decades trying to influence politics suddenly stop? That's the big question. 5. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's departure. When Meghan Markle first joined the royal family, people were excited. An American actress becoming a princess, it felt like a fairy tale. But that fairy tale quickly turned into a nightmare. Meghan faced harsh treatment from the British press. Headlines attacked everything she did. If Kate Middleton wore a dress, she was stunning. If Meghan wore the same dress, she was breaking royal protocol. The media criticized her for everything. Her background, her past relationships, even the way she held her baby bump. But the real shock came when Meghan and Harry revealed what happened behind palace doors. In their interview with Oprah, Meghan said she felt alone, trapped, and even suicidal. She asked for help. She was told no. Can you imagine feeling so hopeless and not having anyone to turn to? The most shocking part? Meghan and Harry claimed that a royal family member, someone very close to the throne, asked how dark their son Archie's skin would be. Racism, secrecy, and control. It was too much for them. In 2020, they stepped down from their royal roles and moved to the US. Some people called them traitors. Others believed they were standing up for themselves. And how did the royal family respond? In a short statement, they said they were saddened, but that recollections may vary. In other words, they denied most of what Meghan and Harry had said. No apology, no real discussion, just damage control. What do you think? Were Meghan and Harry right to leave? Or did they turn their backs on the crown? The Queen's hidden wealth and tax avoidance. The royal family is rich, not just a little rich, crazy rich. Castles, gold, priceless jewels, you name it. But here's the real question. Where does their money come from? And do they pay taxes like the rest of us? For years, people have asked how much the Queen, now King Charles, was really worth. The palace never gives a clear answer. But in 2017, something shocking was revealed. The Paradise Papers. These leaked documents showed that the Queen had secretly invested millions of pounds in offshore tax havens. Now, let's be clear. What she did wasn't illegal. But it raised a big ethical question. Why is the Queen hiding her money in secret accounts, while regular people struggle to pay their taxes? The monarchy also benefits from special tax rules. The royal family gets money from the sovereign grant, which is funded by British taxpayers. But did you know that they don't have to pay inheritance tax like everyone else? Normally, when someone dies, their family has to pay 40% of anything over £325,000. But when Queen Elizabeth passed away, King Charles didn't have to pay a single penny on what he inherited from her. Why? Because of a special rule made just for the monarchy. And if you're thinking, well, at least they released their full financial details, think again. Unlike other public figures, the royal family doesn't have to show where all their money goes. They keep a lot of it hidden. Should they be more transparent? Or is it fair for them to have different rules than the rest of us? The cover-up of Prince Philip's car crash. Imagine this. You're driving down the road, minding your own business, when an elderly man crashes into your car. You're injured. Your child is terrified. Now imagine that the man who hit you is none other than Prince Philip, the husband of the Queen. That's exactly what happened in 2019. Prince Philip, who was 97 years old at the time, was driving near Sandringham Estate when he hit another car. The crash flipped his Land Rover over. The woman in the other car suffered a broken wrist. There was a baby in the back seat. Thankfully, the baby was unharmed. Now, in a normal situation, what would happen? The police would investigate. Charges might be filed. The driver would likely face some consequences. But this wasn't a normal situation. This was royalty. The palace quickly went into damage control. Within 24 hours, Prince Philip was seen driving again, in a brand new Land Rover. No charges were filed. The whole situation was brushed under the rug. After a lot of public backlash, Philip finally wrote an apology letter to the injured woman. But many people felt it was too little, too late. Here's the big question. Should the royal family be treated like regular citizens when they break the law? Or should they always get a free pass? The Forgotten Royal. Have you ever heard of Prince John? Probably not. And there's a reason for that. Prince John was the youngest son of King George V and Queen Mary. He was born in 1905, but unlike his royal brothers and sisters, he was kept hidden from the public. Why? Because he had epilepsy. At that time, disabilities were seen as shameful in the royal family. They didn't want people to know they had a weak member in their bloodline. So, as John's condition worsened, they sent him away to live in a small house away from the main palace. His own parents rarely visited him. He was basically erased from history while he was still alive. Prince John died at just 13 years old after suffering a severe seizure. And do you know how the royal family reacted? His father reportedly showed little emotion and said John's death was a relief. His mother later wrote in her diary that John was better off this way. Can you imagine that? A child suffering from a medical condition, completely hidden away, and then dismissed like he never existed. It's heartbreaking. The scandalous love life of Princess Margaret. Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, lived a life that felt straight out of a movie. She was beautiful, bold, and rebellious. But unlike in fairy tales, her love life was full of heartbreak, scandals, and royal restrictions. Let's start with the man who became the center of one of the biggest royal love scandals, Peter Townsend. Who was he? He wasn't a prince, not a king, not even a duke. He was a simple, hard-working man who served as an officer in the Royal Air Force. He was also a war hero and, most importantly, a gentleman. Margaret fell deeply in love with him, but there was a problem, a huge one. Peter was divorced. And back then, in the 1950s, the British royal family did not approve of divorces, especially when it came to choosing a life partner. The Church of England, which the Queen was the head of, had strict rules. They believed that once you were married, that was it, forever. No second chances. And Margaret, being the Queen's sister, had to follow those rules. But love doesn't follow rules, does it? Margaret and Peter were deeply in love and wanted to get married. When the public found out, people were divided. Some supported her, believing she should be able to choose her own happiness. Others believed the rules were the rules, and she should obey them. So, what did the royal family do? They sent Peter away. Literally. He was posted to Belgium to separate them. Imagine that. Being forced to say goodbye to the person you love just because others don't approve. But Margaret still didn't give up. When she turned 25, she had the right to choose for herself. If she wanted, she could have married Peter without needing the Queen's permission. But then, something unexpected happened. She gave him up. She released a statement saying she had decided not to marry him, choosing duty over love. Some believe she was pressured into it. Others think she realized life with Peter wouldn't be easy. Whatever the truth, she lost the love of her life. So did Margaret ever find love again? She did. But her next relationships were far from fairy tale romances. She ended up marrying Anthony Armstrong Jones, a photographer. At first, it seemed like a perfect match. But behind closed doors, things were different. Their marriage was full of fights, cheating, and unhappiness. Margaret had affairs, Anthony had affairs, and eventually, they became the first royal couple in 400 years to get divorced. 10. Queen Elizabeth's censorship of royal archives. Now, here's something that not many people know about. The secrets hidden in the royal archives. You see, history is supposed to belong to everyone, right? We should be able to learn from it, study it, and understand what really happened. But when it comes to the British royal family, some things are off limits. The royal archives hold thousands of documents, letters, and files related to the monarchy. Some of these papers are over 100 years old, and yet, they are still locked away. Why? What could be so secret that even historians aren't allowed to see them? One of the biggest areas of secrecy is Britain's colonial history. During the time of the British Empire, many dark things happened. Wars, invasions, and even human rights abuses. But instead of being open about it, many documents were destroyed or hidden. There are stories of how, before certain countries gained independence, British officials burned piles of records so no one would ever know the truth. And then there are the royal decisions. There have been times when the royal family influenced politics in ways the public was never supposed to know. The Queen, for example, had secret powers to review and block laws before they were passed. Some of these laws had to do with money, land, and royal privileges. So, why keep all this hidden? The official reason is to protect the dignity of the monarchy. But in reality, it's about controlling the story. If people learned too much about the darker side of royal history, would they still see the monarchy the same way? Many historians have tried to gain access to these files. Some have fought legal battles to open them. But most of the time, the answer is no. The Queen had the power to keep certain documents sealed for up to 100 years, meaning that even today, we might never know the full truth about some of the most important events in royal history. 11. The mystery of the lost royal fortune. Here's a question for you. What happens to all the royal money when a king or queen dies? Does it get split among the family? Does it go to charity? Or does it just disappear? The British royal family is worth billions of dollars, but their wealth is tricky. Some of it comes from the Crown Estate, which is a massive collection of land, buildings, and businesses. This estate makes a lot of money every year, but the royal family doesn't actually own it. It belongs to the state. They just get a portion of the profits. But then there's the private royal wealth. This includes castles, jewelry, art, and secret bank accounts. When a monarch dies, all of this gets passed down in a way that is completely hidden from the public. Unlike normal people, the royal family doesn't have to pay inheritance tax when wealth is transferred from one monarch to the next. This means they can keep millions, maybe even billions, without losing a single penny to taxes. And then, there's the offshore accounts. some leaked documents, like the Paradise Papers, revealed that the Queen had money invested in secret funds outside of the UK. This isn't illegal, but it raises big questions. If the royal family is funded by taxpayers, shouldn't people know where their money is going? The British royal family has done an incredible job of keeping secrets. Whether it's love, history, or money, there are things they simply don't want the public to know. But in today's world, where information spreads faster than ever, how much longer can they keep these secrets? What do you think? Should the monarchy be more open? Or do they have the right to privacy? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because the truth deserves to be heard. Charles can finally share what happened is sure to make jaws drop. For decades, rumors and whispers surrounded the real story behind Charles and Diana's marriage, leaving fans with burning questions. Now, after years of regret and hidden truth, Charles is ready to spill the details that could change everything we thought we knew. From unexpected revelations to shocking confessions, nothing remains off limits in this tell-all.
And I also wanted to say how particularly moved and enormously comforted my children and I were, and indeed still are, by the public response to Diana's death.
Are you ready to hear the scandal that could rewrite entire royal history? Early spotlight on King Charles. From the moment he was born on November 14, 1948, King Charles lived in the public eye like few others. Being the first child of Queen Elizabeth II placed him in line for the British throne at just a few years old. As soon as his mother succeeded to the throne in 1952, Charles's every move became news. Journalists and photographers followed him constantly, capturing everything from his first steps to his school outings. This early attention brought both excitement and hardship. On one hand, Charles enjoyed privileges such as living in grand palaces and traveling around the world with his parents. On the other hand, the weight of future responsibility cast a long shadow. He could not simply play outside without a chaperone, or make casual friends without those friendships ending up in the papers. Knowing that he would eventually become king brought an expectation of perfect behavior and never-ending etiquette lessons. As a child, Charles took part in public events that most people never experience. He had to attend formal ceremonies, greet dignitaries, and smile for countless photographs. His parents were often busy with their own duties, so he sometimes felt distant from them. This early exposure to royal life taught him that leadership is more than just ribbon cutting and waving. It involves representing an entire nation and keeping up an image of respect and tradition. Yet Charles remained a curious young boy, eager to learn. He loved the outdoors, playing sports and exploring nature whenever possible. Despite all the ceremony around him, he tried to embrace any normal childhood moment he could find. This dual existence, being both a young heir and a child wanting freedom, shaped his perspective on duty and personal happiness. Over the years, the world watched him grow, picking apart every detail of his upbringing, from his choice of school to his friendships. While the spotlight was harsh, it also formed him into the resolute individual he would become. He learned to handle media pressure, stand by his values, and balance tradition with personal growth. Those early years in the public eye laid the groundwork for his eventual role as Britain's monarch. Challenging childhood. Although King Charles was born into privilege, his childhood was far from easy. In public, he seemed to have it all: a royal title, a future throne, and enrollment in prestigious schools. But behind the castle walls, he faced emotional hurdles that shaped who he is today. He often spoke of feeling somewhat isolated, since his parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, had demanding schedules and many official duties. As a result, they were often away, leaving young Charles under the care of nannies and tutors. He once admitted that his parents could be both physically and emotionally distant. Growing up under such circumstances, he struggled to find genuine warmth and affection. Many times his reserved nature was misunderstood as aloofness, but it stemmed from a lack of open, playful interaction within his family. Like any sensitive child, he longed for approval and closeness. Additionally, constant media attention made it hard for him to form normal friendships. Classmates sometimes teased him, either because of his royal status or his gentle nature. While many assume being a prince meant an easy life, it actually invited extra scrutiny. Every quirk or emotion he showed sparked feedback from both peers and the wider public. This pressure taught him to shield his feelings, shaping the more guarded side of his personality that people would later observe. However, these hardships also contributed to his ability to empathize with others, since he knew how it felt to be lonely and misunderstood. Charles developed a softer side. In time, he became known for his desire to protect the environment and uplift charitable causes. There is a belief that his early emotional battles gave him a strong sense of compassion for the struggles of everyday people. Overcoming a challenging childhood was no small feat. Charles had to navigate formal expectations, media glare, and his own yearning for unconditional love. These factors fueled both his insecurities and his determination to do well by his future subjects. In many ways, his youthful trials served as stepping stones toward a more empathetic approach to leadership, highlighting how even a prince can grow through adversity. Gordontown School experience. Gordontown School became a defining chapter of King Charles's youth. Founded by German educator Kurt Hahn, the school was known for its strict discipline, outdoor challenges, and emphasis on self-reliance. Prince Philip, Charles's father, believed that Gordontown would make his son tougher, more independent, and ready for the demands of royal life. Though the school was among the most respected in the United Kingdom, it was also notorious for its rigorous routines. For young Charles, the transition was tough. He was a sensitive boy, more inclined toward quiet reflection than braving cold mornings and adventure drills. At Gordontown, students were expected to wake up early to take cold showers, keep their dormitories spotless, and participate in various sports. The school highlighted character growth through hardship, a principle that clashed with Charles's gentle manner. He found the days exhausting and sometimes felt overwhelmed by the physical demands and the teasing he faced from classmates. Still, he would later admit that his time at Gordontown shaped his resilience and helped him discover inner strengths. He learned how to handle criticism, adapt to unfamiliar settings, and rely on himself in challenging situations. In a 1975 interview, he reflected that the school taught him much about his own abilities, hinting that the difficulties sparked personal growth. He also said that his father's insistence on sending him there, though harsh at times, forced him to confront the real world in ways a pampered prince rarely would. Beyond discipline, Gordontown offered Charles opportunities in leadership. The school believed in giving senior students responsibility to oversee younger ones, which helped Charles practice guiding and supporting peers. He also found moments to appreciate nature, exploring the rugged landscape surrounding the campus. That closeness with nature might have nurtured his lifelong advocacy for environmental causes. Despite the strictness, he later expressed gratitude for his Gordontown experience. While he often joked that his father's choice of school was a harsh move for someone so sensitive, he ultimately acknowledged its benefits. By enduring trials of physical endurance, structure, and teamwork, Charles discovered personal qualities that would serve him well as he prepared for the responsibilities of a future king. University education king. Charles's choice to attend university was a defining moment that broke royal tradition and sparked debate within the British royal family. Typically, heirs to the throne were expected to enter military service straight after their formal schooling. However, Charles had other plans. After completing his A-levels at Gordontown, he announced his intent to pursue a degree at the University of Cambridge. Many in the royal circle were uneasy about this decision, fearing it might reflect poorly on him as a future monarch. Critics claimed it showed a lack of discipline and a desire to dodge the rigors of military life. Yet Charles stood firm, determined to prove that scholarship and service could go hand in hand. Despite the stir it caused, his time at Cambridge became an invaluable experience. He studied anthropology, archaeology, and history, eventually earning a second-class lower Bachelor of Arts, an achievement that made him the first British heir apparent to receive a university degree. During his studies, the media kept a close watch on his every move. Reports of Charles strolling through campus with classmates or attending social events always made headlines, reflecting a public keenly curious about how he would balance academic pursuits with his royal obligations. For Charles, this period was about more than attending lectures and writing essays. It allowed him a taste of relative independence, a chance to mingle with fellow students and immerse himself in intellectual debate. He engaged in discussions ranging from historical events to global challenges, broadening his cultural awareness. This exposure seemed to strengthen his worldview and shape his future philanthropic interests. In particular, experiencing life beyond palace walls helped him understand ordinary people's struggles, an understanding that would later influence his passion for charitable causes. Still, not everyone was so accepting of his academic adventure. Some family members felt that time spent away from official duties hindered his readiness for the crown. Yet, Charles's resolve only grew stronger in the face of doubt. Even as tension brewed within the royal household, he persisted, focusing on exams and forming friendships that would last for years. Military career. After earning his university degree, King Charles turned his attention to the military, a path many had expected him to follow from the start. Criticism had built up when he initially postponed his service, with voices suggesting he feared the harsh environment. Yet Charles was determined to prove otherwise. Early in his second year at Cambridge, he requested Royal Air Force training, surprising both the public and members of his family. This move signaled his readiness to take on physically and mentally demanding challenges. Charles began his preparatory instruction by studying a range of technical subjects, including aerodynamics, navigation, and aviation medicine. According to Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Johns, who oversaw parts of Charles's training, the young man displayed remarkable concentration and a fierce determination to excel. While critics still questioned whether a sensitive prince could handle strict discipline, Charles's instructors saw a different side, a focused student who refused to fail. His military journey didn't end with the RAF. Charles soon embarked on a career in the Royal Navy, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. He took an accelerated course at Britannia Royal Naval College, quickly adjusting to life on ships, destroyers, and frigates. Over time, he served as a gunnery officer on the HMS Minerva and took on responsibilities that tested both his leadership and technical skills. His active involvement in real operations, such as monitoring a Soviet submarine, showcased his calm under pressure and willingness to adapt to life at sea. One highlight of Charles's service was his development as a pilot. He spent countless hours in the cockpit, perfecting maneuvers and formation flying. His dedication paid off when he earned the Double Diamond Trophy, marking him as one of the top pilots in his class. Eventually, Charles advanced to commanding officer of the minesweeper HMS Brownington, where he led a small crew through routine exercises and real missions involving leftover World War II ordnance. By December 1976, he concluded his active military career with the rank of commander. Though some once doubted his ability to withstand rigorous training, he left with a record that spoke volumes about his commitment and skill. In many ways, his time in uniform demonstrated that a future monarch could balance tradition with personal ambition, all while earning the respect of both royal and military circles. It was one more stepping stone on a journey that would soon lead him to a deeply complex chapter of life. Meeting Princess Diana. Meeting Princess Diana. The story of King Charles meeting Princess Diana often leads to mention of a shooting party hosted by Diana's older sister, Sarah. But according to Charles himself, their very first meeting happened in a less glamorous setting, a freshly plowed field. In that moment, Diana was a shy 16-year-old, while Charles was in his late 20s, dating Sarah. Despite the age gap and the prince's existing relationship, Diana captured Charles's attention. He was charmed by her youthful spirit and unique warmth, but with his eyes fixed on Sarah at the time, he barely acted on those feelings. Not long after, Charles joined Sarah for a ski trip, and their blossoming relationship was widely documented by the media, who celebrated them as a potential match. Behind the scenes, though, something else was happening. During a gathering at Sarah's invitation, Charles and Diana ended up talking in private. She led him on a brief tour of her home's gallery, and he found her kindness and energy irresistible, even if he couldn't publicly show it. Meanwhile, Diana was flattered by the prince's genuine interest. Yet the situation was far from simple. Sarah was still very much in the picture. In a surprising twist, Sarah herself ended up ending the relationship with Charles. She gave a frank interview to a magazine, boldly stating she was not in love with him, nor had any intention of marrying into the royal family. The public was stunned, considering how they had seemed happy together during their ski outings. Within months, Sarah married someone else, causing the media to pivot and focus on the evolving connection between Charles and Diana. With Sarah now out of the equation, Charles felt freer to pursue the younger sister who had captivated him from that first encounter. Still, there were unavoidable concerns about their 12-year age difference and Diana's limited experience with the public eye. Undeterred, they began seeing more of each other. The royal family, always conscious of appearances, kept a close watch on their dates, intrigued by the possibility that Diana might be a suitable bride for the future king. Marriage to Diana. The marriage of King Charles and Princess Diana was hailed as the event of the century, a dazzling ceremony watched by hundreds of millions worldwide. From the outside, it looked like the ultimate fairy tale. Royal pomp, horse-drawn carriages, and a stunning bride adored by onlookers everywhere she went. Yet beneath the grand displays of love and pageantry, trouble brewed. Diana, who was only 20 when she wed the future king, soon found that royal life was far more complex than she had imagined. One early warning sign came during their engagement interview. When asked if they were in love, Diana confidently said yes, but Charles replied, "Whatever in love means." His awkward response drew public concern, and privately, Diana admitted that it hurt. Troubles mounted further during their engagement when she discovered Charles had purchased a gift for his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Though Diana considered calling off the wedding, she pressed on, buoyed by her sister's support, but harboring deep fears about Charles's loyalty. Their wedding day remained a spectacle of joy, at least to the millions watching on television. Behind the scenes, however, cracks formed in the marriage almost immediately. Diana struggled with the relentless scrutiny of the press and the expectations placed on her as a royal wife. Charles, meanwhile, did little to hide his lingering attachment to Camilla, fueling Diana's worries and later her heartbreak. Over time, the emotional strain took a visible toll. Diana spoke openly about her feelings of inadequacy, and Charles, unsure how to handle her distress, seemed to drift further away. Eventually, the rumors of Charles's ongoing affair became impossible to ignore. Diana confronted Camilla directly, pleading for her to leave Charles alone. When that failed, the tension boiled over, leaving Diana feeling more isolated than ever. The media, hungry for drama, devoured every hint of conflict. The final blow arrived when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla leaked to the press, exposing the true extent of their relationship. Faced with a scandal that rocked the monarchy, Charles publicly admitted the affair. A deeply wounded Diana, in turn, shared her side in televised interviews, famously remarking that, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." In 1992, they formally separated, finalizing their divorce in 1996. What began as a fairy tale had become a cautionary story of love, betrayal, and public intrusion, forever shaping how the world viewed the House of Windsor and the couple at its center. Infidelity and marital troubles. The marriage of King Charles and Princess Diana was once the world's favorite fairy tale, but underlying tensions and hidden affections soon cast a shadow over their union. Early on, Diana sensed Charles's lingering fondness for his former flame, Camilla Parker Bowles. Although Diana hoped that marriage and motherhood would draw Charles closer, those dreams gradually faded as Camilla remained in the picture. Hurt and confused, Diana confronted Charles about the gift he had bought Camilla shortly before their wedding, an omen that her new life might not be a peaceful one. Taking on royal duties brought more public attention, leaving little room for private resolutions. Diana tried to hold her marriage together despite feeling increasingly overshadowed by Camilla's presence. Pleas and direct confrontations proved fruitless. Charles, meanwhile, seemed torn between his sense of duty to Diana and his emotional history with Camilla. Eventually, their marital strains spilled over into media reports, fueling endless tabloid gossip. Every time Diana appeared at a public event looking downcast or teary-eyed, the press speculated about Charles's behavior and the cracks in their relationship. The unsustainable tension came to a head when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla leaked, confirming beyond doubt that the prince had continued his affair. The tapes featured candid exchanges, revealing the depth of their emotional bond. As these calls became front-page news, any hope of salvaging the royal marriage dimmed. In a bid to manage the crisis, Charles sat down for a televised interview where he finally admitted to cheating on Diana. This public confession shattered the prince's carefully managed image of respectability and left Diana feeling betrayed on a global stage.